Hi, Taurus. It's a little dim in here, but I kind of, um, as I was just starting it, I was like, should I turn more lights on? But I actually think that this is the vibe. Like, yes, I'm ready, but we're also looking at a lot this month. And I wanted to do your reading somewhat towards the beginning and paired with your fellow Venusian Libra, because we have the lunar eclipse in Libra coming up this month. So already, and we'll talk more about how Pluto has entered Aquarius, of course, and as a fellow fixed sign, right? What that could mean for you. If you have Taurus in the first house, Aquarius should be in 10th. I told myself I was going to write this stuff down. I'm going to make notes before the next video. So, Aries is in the 12th. Pisces should be in the 11th. Yeah, so the 10th. So if your chart is general, or even if it's empty for whole sign houses, Aquarius has moved through the 10th house, and also Pluto is moving through that aspect of your life, which has to do with groups that you're involved with, friendships, and it's like your public life to an extent. And there is a career spinoff of that, but career is more the 9th house, and it's also other things as well, but I did want to pinpoint just like the very general things, because this is where you will notice that you're finishing up cycles, perhaps, that a lot of you may be moving on from a particular area, or it could just be moving on internally about some things and also acquiring new roles. So if you have like other skills outside of what you do on a day-to-day basis, you could be doing that or researching other ways of study or finishing up study in a particular way. So there's a few different things that could be happening at this time that involve how you look in a public aspect, and also who you involve yourself with and what kind of people you surround yourself with, and how that may or may not change, but also can affect your life to an extent. And here we are in Pisces season, right? So welcome to Pisces season. All information to work with me one-on-one is below, as well as the extended version to this reading, which will be in the first link below, but give it a couple of days. Right away, we have here Pisces season says this is finishing up for you, because for some of you, this is there is an area of your public life and friendship to an extent. There's so many things that maybe you used to concern yourself with more in your mind, like you've been in your head, or it's been taking up a lot of space in your life. And now that things are shifting, there's this newness, right? There's this new energy that provides a variety of feelings, and could even bring about inspiration. It could also be you feeling like you're on top of the world right now, that you have so much at your fingertips, you have so much access to this next phase of your life, right? And so we have the moon here, so you probably noticed during these moon cycles, so we just had the Virgo full moon, so probably towards the Pisces new moon next week, which is when this will be out before then. So by that time, I suggest that you find a way to get quiet within yourself if you haven't already been naturally doing that, because we know most of you probably are finding some kind of quiet time in your space to hear, to listen to universe, God, enter your choice of word that makes sense for you there, but allowing God to enter, allowing what you've built this far and the energy that you've created. So you put in time and energy into yourself. You're putting time and energy into your study, into bettering yourself, into creating a home, perhaps into creating a life. And that all stems from how you think of yourself. Like that all goes back to that. And you're just like, how does that connect? Well, how you talk and think within yourself, if you have an inner dialogue some of the time, any of the time, or if you're ever thinking, contemplating, and as we know, earth signs mostly do. So this is not something that is far from you, right? So as you're doing that, you're choosing how to interact with yourself. And in my belief, like, this air, this existence, and the more that I believe it and the more that I experiment with, okay, this is God. This is a source of energy that has not yet been created, or there's so much energy around me that has not yet been created. And it's a different way and a different kind of protection that comes from that. There's a different understanding that comes from that from within the body. So if you start to actually become aware and pay attention, and if you already do, you notice that shapes the experiences and the interactions and the connections that you're already co-creating, and then the new ones that you're entering, right? So you're entering a phase where you don't want things to feel the same. And you're like, Taurus, interesting. This isn't comfortable. No, it is now. Now you're getting used to, again, going back to the world, there's just so much insight here already that I'm going to pull some more cards, but I do want to talk about this. Why are you asking for quiet? What does Uranus have to do with it? What does Jupiter have to do with it? What does Venus, Pluto, right? So the 10 of Cups is that quiet time that you get, because by the Pisces full moon, the cards are saying, hey, you know how they say, like, really envision your life or feel through it. Life will begin to speed in a different way after the new moon. And up until that time, you're being asked to dream. And even especially during that time. And notice what comes up when you dream, right? Notice the resistance in the mind or the body, or what you feel in your body, because you're so connected to the body. And that's, in my opinion, the most intuitive part of you, right? So especially you Taurus risings, you're going to now, not even because you want it or asking for it, but you'll be seen in a different way. Some people may notice it and, actually actively say something to you. And it's because you've connected some dots between where you are now, where you're going internally, and the goals, that's shifting, right? The mutable water is saying, hey, you can be stubborn about this, but it might take away from this full experience that you're really looking for, and what that means. And of course you want security and stability, but you're starting to understand what that looks like physically and philosophically. You're starting to connect them in your own life in a different way. You're starting to maybe play with different ways of sensing your security, or noticing where you put that value and why it's so rigid and why it's been so rigid. And and now it's becoming just much more obvious on an emotional level, and on a mental level, and how you decide certain things for your future. And Pisces season is coming in and saying, hey, if this is the vision, we're going to show you and bring up different ways in which you can invite flexibility and malleability in your life, or take a sword to it. Okay. I think you're just at the point where if something, and this just feels like our energy right now, because I'm a Taurus rising, so I feel you. You're just at the point where you're just like, okay, enough's enough. I get how I can be. And, it's okay to be extreme about some things, especially if it's for my benefit. And if things are going to move fast anyway, if I can put some of this God-given resource of stamina, because your stamina is incredible, and that is the willpower and the patience that it takes to absorb and learn from the ether, from the particles from God, from sensing and being willing to tap so deeply into your senses in a world where our culture is kind of just constantly trying to take us out and overstimulate us, and which can cause numbing, right? Like to the extreme. So I think you're just so willing, and we have the bottom of the deck here. This is gorgeous. As a highly Venusian sign, I like to point out the beauty. I used to hide from it, but it's important. That's why I'm like, the beautiful thing is, because it is, there's so much more beauty in the individual experience of relating to these signs. But I believe, and I hope you get through the readings, is that what helps influence is that the sun sign, rising sign are growth points, especially your sun sign. It's a big growth point in your life. It's not something you just come in with, unless you've been through many of the degrees. And even then, you're still going to learn and still going to have to go through it all again. That gets down to a different level. But then the rising sign is just, it's so influential, and it's such a big part of your identity. And the more you step into that, the more you become aware of that. I think just you're finally at the level of bullshit in this way, and you are the bullshit meter. And when you're finally at a place and you're being given, like willingly given, this opportunity to just be like, all right, enough's enough. We're going to part the waters now. Okay, here I come. And it's just time. You notice, like, okay, whatever isn't accentuating, right, the waistline aesthetically, whatever isn't accentuating your life aesthetically, it just has to be looked at and maybe changed. Mercury will go into retrograde a week after the lunar eclipse in Libra, and it will go retrograde in, I believe it is Aquarius, or I think Pisces, but let me just double check here. Let me double check. What else? Oh, actually in Aries. Shit, I was off by one. Sorry. But yeah, so basically, as I always say to you, and I think this is because it really clicks with Taurans, is that you're just always being prepared. And because Uranus is going through your sign, you're just constantly going through this, like, strangely exhilarating, uncomfortable yet comfortable. And now you may be at the point where you're looking forward to the courage, because you realize, like, oh shit, like I gain like a lot of courage, like I gain a lot of power, a personal power, every time I face my fear of this. If this is a fear, if it goes all that far to being a fear, Taurus, of course. And yet at the same time, this is challenging me in all of the ways in which, if I'm challenged in those ways, there's not a doubt in my mind that I'm not going to grow, right? That I'm not going to produce something. And it's not, I don't want it to sound like it's harmful, because it's not, but it's going to test your psyche and your stamina, your God-given, beautiful, no one can touch stamina and patience. Yet you're also learning a difference between understanding where values are hitting, like, their final place, right? Their final part in your story right now, and how allowing yourself to be open to not only being willing to move differently or shift something for your own benefit, right? But it hopefully will benefit just more than a couple of days or a couple of months, but like your entire life moving forward. And there's a greater sense of control in a way that it's possible that you've been kind of striving for. There's this understanding, right? And if you can take anything from the insights and the visions, or visioning what you want, maybe writing it down, any which way that all of this works for you, the emotions that come with it are a part of the experience, right? It's being able to handle the emotions. So we always think like manifestation, I'm being responsible for the money and for the bigness and the emotions that come along with it. Your own. And of course others. Not that you should manage other people's, but you have to know where you stand no matter which room you're in. You have to know, like, and you may not care so much about that in terms of like levels of status and stuff, but your words, what you choose to say, this amazing transformation with your throat chakra that's been happening will show and prove that you're supposed to be there. Not that we want you to prove yourself all the time, not that at all, but it's something to see in yourself when you can actually have that experience and being able to witness yourself having this experience. And in Pisces season, what the healing that can do just for a few moments of recognition and being seen in a certain way, being heard in a certain way, and how those align and what that can do for your life. You know how a lot of people say, yeah, after this, I just got over it and I, got up on stage and spoke or did this. It just kind of like, that was like the electric moment where it hit me that this is what I need more of. This is what I need to go towards, and like the rest is history. So you may be brought unknowingly or surprisingly or knowingly, you felt something was going to change, then all of a sudden it does, but it's not without the fortitude and the mental strength and the emotional strength that you also bring. Notice what falls away because of that, right? You've already decided on, you've already are making this decision of this Four of Pentacles, Ace of Swords moment, like you notice, but you also notice what falls away, and it doesn't come without some feelings. It doesn't come without some change and pain. But I think from what I see here, what you're creating from this place of joy and change, yet also could be shedding some pain or shedding some light on the fact that you haven't allowed yourself to come to this place or get to this place in a way that's more long lasting, perhaps. It's what it gives you to continuously create. I think you more than anyone can understand that. And I learned this, right, in a certain way, but then the way I conceptualize like the artist and the healing and being able to produce something or put your energy into something, every time you meet a roadblock or something that you come up against yourself with, it's how you handle that. Right? What do you choose to do when you're in mid-creation or about to start or keep procrastinating? What is it that you're facing in yourself? And I'm not saying you do those things, but you can relate that to what it is that you do. And if you do those things, then you can recognize like, hey, like there's a lot about being able to question things more this month than to assume. And I think you're already like, the energy you guys have is already so amazing at this, but it's like even more aware that the questions that you ask always get you where you need to go, and those places could also be surprising, but yet at the same time you recognize and feel that like, no, this is supposed to be this way, this is the growth, this is what's happening. And now things are starting to really take a certain specific shape. And we'll get more into that into next bar. I'm really excited. We'll do it now, Taurus. All information is below. And we'll see you next month in the pre-season pre-game.